What is the real meaning of Dhyan and how can we go into it? Dhyan is the process of entering into oneself after getting rid of all thoughts, suspicion, illusions and passions, and by making the mind peaceful and thoughtless. When the outer feelings are subdued, a spiritual enlightenment of the soul takes place. When we move forward on this path, we reach a room filled with radiance. Moving further, we come across a still larger room, even more brightly illumined. On proceeding still further, we reach an even larger source of celestial radiance. Thus, as we keep entering ourselves, we come across brighter and brighter sources of illuminations. And when we reach the final destination, the outer world ceases to exist for us. Then we become oblivious of even our own existence. This state is called Dhyan. There are 7 stages in a human being: Vaishari, Madhyama, Pashyanti, Atal, Pran, Nirbij and Manas. The state beyond these 7 is of Dhyan. The first stage is Vaishari, which means being in our physical bodies. Vaishari means that a person knows what he is doing, where he is going, whether he is a Hindu or Muslim, what he is doing is right or wrong. He also knows that there is something called Dhyan. This stage is not seen in animals. It is only present in humans. But there are quite a few people who do not even have this stage in their lives. There are men who do not know the difference between an animal and human. They always live and act like animals. A person attains this stage when he thinks or believes that entering into his body, he can reach a state of true joy. By thinking thus, the person at least takes a step to enter into himself by cutting himself from the outer world. He feels that he has to attain the true joy present within by severing himself from the worldly comforts. The budding of the desire to reach this highest echelon of human life leads to this stage called Vaishari. It is a stage in which the person tries to free himself of this physical existence by entering into his soul. I had told you that radiations keep emanating from the human body. When the radiations from the body of some person come and fall on one's body, then one knows whether the person is feeling angry, jealous or friendly. All this can be known by the flow of radiations from one body to another. Even mental illness or disbalance can occur due to this flow of radiation. Suppose there is a young, handsome man and a beautiful girl. The radiations from the youth's body get attracted towards the girl. There being an affinity between their radiations, the radiations from the girl's body too get attracted towards the man's body. Due to this exchange, a love develops between them. This leads to a feeling to meet each other again and again. When the exchanges become very strong, the love becomes capable of even breaking through the orthodox social norms in order to further intensify this bond. But these radiations pertain to only the outer body, to the outer material life. When a person removes himself from their influence, he starts to think of looking inside. Inside this body, there is a process. There are inner subtle radiations. When these subtle radiations are able to touch him, he realizes that there surely is something else in this subtle body through which he can attain true joy. In the material world, he tries everything. He builds a house, he gets a wife, then marries another woman, he divorces and marries still again, takes a mistress, amasses wealth, but he does not experience true joy. And when, even after doing so much, he does not attain true bliss in life, he starts to think that there must surely be something with the help of which he could realize the essence of life. These worldly comforts are momentary. They may be there today but may disappear tomorrow. There may be wealth today but may not be there tomorrow. One cannot buy peaceful sleep with one's wealth. Neither can one buy contentment. Even a wife cannot be a source of true joy. In fact, one gains nothing by running after such mirages throughout one's life. That process through which joy can be obtained is completely different, and the stage in which such a thought enters a person's mind and he becomes determined to obtain such a joy is called Madhyama. The person may not know what true joy is like or how and where to obtain it, but nevertheless he develops a strong belief that there surely is something through which Anand or true joy can be attained. This is the Madhyama Avastha, the second stage. The third stage is the Pashyanti, which means to keep looking or seeing. But there is a difference, because in this stage one sees with a different vision, a different perspective. One's feelings, one's thoughts get changed. It seems as if one has bought a ticket and is now sitting in a cinema hall. The person then sees all happenings in this world as if he is watching on a screen. He sees that a man is running away with a woman, but he feels nothing and remains unaffected by the going-ons. Someone's son dies, but he feels no sorrow and remains calm. He sees a beautiful girl dancing, but no amorous thoughts flood his mind. He just keeps observing. When the show ends after 3 hours, he gets up and walks away. During the 3 hours, he remains calm as ever and remains totally unaffected by the scenes appearing on the screen. When he sees the man running away with his girlfriend, he does not feel excited, nor does he feel sad when the boy dies. He is just a spectator. And a person reaches the Pashyanti stage when he becomes a mere observer in real life too. Then he remains calm in all situations. He may obtain money or he may not. There may be a quarrel in the house. Someone may be abusing him. Someone may be praising him. In every condition, he remains cool and unruffled. Like a mere spectator, he keeps looking on without getting carried away. He neither feels happy nor sad. He never feels worried. He just stands on one side and keeps looking without getting involved in the going-ons. Of course, he does continue to live in the society. He has a house, a wife, children, friends, relatives. He participates in social work, carries on his businesses, goes to his office, worships the God, and even goes on pilgrimages. But he does all this as a spectator. He does not get deeply involved in the proceedings. And this stage, such a perspective to life, is called the Madhyama Avastha. The process of looking at everything after cutting off from the outer world is the third step to the state of Dhyan. This is an important step because through it one gets rid of all passions, sorrows and afflictions. In this stage, a person remains indifferent to everything he sees. He has no licentious thoughts on looking at a woman. He feels no despise on seeing a deceased person. He does not cohabit in a fit of lust, but does so with an indifference. Thus, only a saint is born to him. When cohabitation takes place without any feeling of lust, then great men like Rama, Krishna, Buddha and Mahavir are born. The fourth stage is Atal Avastha. Atal means fathomless. On having reached this stage, even though a person remains in this world, he is not limited or confined to it. Rather, his personality, his life becomes a part of the whole universe. The entire universe becomes a witness to his existence. Then he feels no difference between a Hindu, Muslim, Sikh or a Christian. He visits a temple, a mosque, a church with the same devotion and bows down in reverence before all gods. The feeling of Dvait starts to vanish slowly and he begins to enter deep into his soul, which is in fact fathomless. He reaches a state where a person is neither a Hindu nor a Christian. He feels no passions. If anyone abuses him or spits on his face, there appears not even a frown on it. He even remains unaffected by happiness or joy. Such a state is called Atal. This is the most important stage of going into Dhyan. Such a person carries out all his social obligations just like any other ordinary person. He carries on his business, goes to the job, lives with his wife, but never thinks of any gain or loss in the material sense. He fuses his soul with the universe and becomes one with it. He feels equally moved by every death, whether it occurs in his neighborhood or in any other country, say Vietnam. He feels distressed if there is an earthquake in Bengal, and so does he when an earthquake occurs in America. Nationality then means nothing to him. He does not feel that he is an Indian, a Pakistani, or a Vietnamese. He only feels that he is a part of the universe. Wherever there is a depreciation in human values, whether it is in any part of the world or in his own home, he feels troubled. His feelings, his thoughts do not remain limited to a place, a nation, or to a particular time period. His vision, his thoughts become omnipresent. Such a unique state is Atal Avastha. Fifth is the Pran Avastha. It signifies that now a person is progressing fast towards that high spiritual level called Dhyan, where there is no deformation in feelings. In this stage, he may be anywhere. He is free from all illusions. He does not feel hungry or thirsty. Taste of food means nothing to him. He does not feel like eating any particular delicacy or any sweet. He feels no disgust on eating sour or bitter food, and neither does he feel elated on eating something sweet. This is not a state of insanity. It only means that he has become passionless and totally indifferent to material joys. He lives on the basis of humanity and not his body. This is the stage where the physical body loses all its significance and the soul becomes prominent. This is the stage where the boundaries of the physical body end and that of the universe commence. The process of moving from the body, which is just a receptacle of food, to the soul, which is a source of divinity, begins from this stage. A person who realizes the divinity of the soul reaches a spiritual state where he is addressed as a saint. Then he starts to look at all holy books, Vedas, Puranas, Upanishads, Quran, Bible, Ramayana, with the same reverent feeling. He sees everyone, whether a saint or a thief, with the same neutral feeling, because the soul is same in every person and it is but a part of this universe. In this state, a person is capable of witnessing any event going on anywhere because his soul becomes homogeneous with the ether which is present throughout the universe. Thus, such a person can see anything going on in this universe even with his eyes closed. Nothing remains a secret for him. Just by looking at a man or a woman, he is able to know about his or her past and even one's previous lives. The soul is omnipresent. Through it one can know what all is happening in America at this moment. The souls in different people cannot be distinguished because all are part of the same cosmic conscience. The soul is like a wave which can travel around the earth 50 times in 1,000th of a second. Thus anything occurring anywhere becomes clear before one's eyes, just as if one is looking on a television screen. In this stage, a person remains unaffected by the onslaughts of time and can even travel in time. God has put up a sort of curtain between our present and previous lives, due to which we do not remember our previous births. But on reaching the Prana Avastha, the curtain is raised and the person is able to see his previous births clearly, and he comes to know who he was, where he lived, and how the person now before him was related to him in the previous life or before that. He can even look into the future and can see his future lives. Then he does not look at time spans but takes in time as a whole. On reaching this stage, the person is said to have attained the state of Paramahams. He is said to be liberated of the material or physical life because that stage is not of animal existence but of the realization of that soul which is present throughout the universe, which is free of all passions and thoughts, and which is but the form of Brahma. In the Prana Avastha, the form of God no longer remains before his eyes, because remembering God means remembering his different forms, Rama, Krishna, Nanak, Jesus. Here only the state of Brahma becomes clear to him. Brahma, who is one and is omnipresent. This stage is indeed unique in human life. Here, hunger, thirst, sorrows or pains cannot affect a person. He is not bound by any class, nationality or by time. He sits with a thoughtless mind, looking at the world at large. He understands everything he sees. In just 1 second, his soul can travel across the whole world, thus witnessing whatever is going on in America, Vietnam, Africa, or for that matter, any place on this earth. Such a capability is acquired only on reaching the Prana Avastha. The next stage is Nirbij Avastha. Nirbij means going beyond even the Prana Avastha. In the Prana Avastha, one can only see an event occurring in some place in the universe. He is just a mere spectator to these events and can do nothing but watch them. But on reaching the Nirbij Avastha, he becomes capable of interfering in these events as well. He can even alter the course of the events by active participation. If something is going wrong, he can rectify it. If the situation is turning out to be violent, he can stop it. He can even pacify a violent person with the help of the spiritually soothing waves emanating from his soul. He can subdue an angry bull, he can tame a lion, and he can even turn war maniacs into peace lovers. And he can do this because he attains a capacity to interfere into nature. He can remove the poison of evil designs from a person's mind by controlling and transforming his thoughts. He can subdue the passions of any person. He can prevent violence, rapes, terrorism, murder, greed, avarice, and all such beastly actions. He can in fact vanquish all animal passions and can instill moral and human values into any person. He can transform a violent person into a peaceful one and can even make him do creative work. A violent person carrying a knife can hurt anyone. But if a person who has reached the Nirbij Avastha transforms his thinking and gives him a pencil and paper, then he can be inspired to draw a beautiful sketch. He has a streak of violence in him, but through a pencil and of course the spiritual metamorphosis, it gets converted into a piece of art. His nature thus gets completely transformed. This stage of Nirbij is remarkable because only the person who has achieved it can go on to become a real guru. From this stage starts the process of becoming a sadguru. Before this was the state of being a guru, but in this stage he becomes a sadguru and he always thinks of transforming the passions of his disciples into new thoughts, new perceptions. The next stage is the Manas Avastha. In it one attains perfect and total control over one's mind. It is the stage of attaining complete Samadhi and contentment. No thought or feeling remains in a person's mind because the mind comes under his full control. Then the mind cannot go astray and ever obeys all his commands. This seventh stage is of total dhyan, where the person has no conscience of his being. He becomes lost in divinity and attains totality through divine enlightenment and awakening of his soul. He remains free of all passions like anger, lust, greed, and infatuation. Remaining calm and reposed, he lives in the material world and carries out all his work. He can not only control his own mind, but can exercise control even on the minds of others. By transforming the thoughts of a person, even a dacoit can be made a Valmiki and can thus be raised to high spiritual levels. This process of reaching such a state is called dhyan. On reaching this state, a person remains in eternal cosmic trance, meditation, whether his eyes are open or closed.